Sweet. All right, so I'll kick it off. Some of the most valuable components of this week's topics, at least for me as I was going through, was power of networks and assessing those networks. The reason for me that those were so valuable is that time is the scarcest resource that all of us have inside and outside of business. So if we don't identify how to effectively spend time with a key stakeholder from a relationship building standpoint or another standpoint, or we waste time doing or solving the wrong things in our businesses, we might give ourselves and hopefully others the impression in this situation that we're making progress or creating value, but we might not necessarily be doing that and actually delivering on our goals. So that was kind of my answer to the first question. The first sub bullet there: what areas were new or surprising? Which ones were you familiar with? For me, a new one was breaking down a network into pieces and understanding how to assess its breadth, brokering potential, dynamism, depth, and the type of network, like is it operational or strategic? So that was pretty cool. Something I was familiar with was stakeholder analysis. I'm a project manager, so that's something that I do, just on a daily basis. And one lesson I've learned there is that including the right stakeholders can mean the difference between project success and project failure. The same thing goes for excluding the right or wrong stakeholders from a project. And then lastly, do we live by these principles currently? Does my team or colleagues? Why or why not? So my team at work, yes, we're an organization. We do a great job of understanding different areas of strength and weaknesses. We are a PMO. We lean into the strengths-based approach. So it makes a lot of sense from that perspective when we do live that. For me personally, since I'm newer to the organization, I only started January of 2024, and it's almost the end of February. It's really just identifying and effectively aligning resources so that I can showcase, I'm not just a good operator, I'm a strategic thinker as well. So yeah, that's me. We can go on to question 2.
Yeah, so as far as why these topics are important, kind of like Colin already said, time is the most valuable resource that we have. And so by utilizing our networks efficiently and growing them, expanding them, we'll be able to solve problems more efficiently, save ourselves and others more time. And then kind of on that solving problems issue and the idea of really focusing and finding out what the problem is, spending time identifying the problem before going in and focusing on it. We don't want to jump into things too quick. And kind of growing up in schoolwork, we're always told to just jump right in and solve the problem. Problems are kind of a black and white solution area, and life very rarely gives us that. And so learning these topics has been really beneficial to take a step back, really identify the problem, and then use those networks to go out and solve it efficiently.
Awesome. Yeah, jumping into question 3, what do you do with what will you do with what you've learned? So I had some coaching this week, and it closely aligned with this week's topic. What I've learned and what's relevant is that people want to win with you, and you should pull people along, and you should loop others in early in projects. This doesn't only just help earn trust, but it also pulls in resources to make sure that you're looking at items in the right way. Are you pulling in people who have a different opinion, that may oppose originally, and you can work together, pull them in as stakeholders early on, and keep them in the project through to completion. The other thing that I thought was super interesting is when we said that there are high-performing CEOs that use Kotter's 8 steps. I figured that using this as a template, similarly to those CEOs, would show that we're being thorough and we're kind of checking the boxes, so to say, in key areas where we need to focus on these projects.
So for question 4, what we've been talking a lot about and some of the common things that I thought were especially important was the value of time. And so finding the right problem was something I thought was important for us to talk about as a class, but not just finding the problem, but finding the correct problem. Because if we're spending all of our time around something that really isn't that important to the organization, then it's just having meetings to have meetings. And I think that's, at least in my organization, that's something that's a problem, that you're just trying to kill time. So you set up a meeting just to talk about having a meeting for another time. So you want to find what the right problem is and how to establish correct ways to address it. And so with reading through Spradlin's ideas, I think that would be great for us to discuss how you can go through his 4 steps of identifying the correct problem.
Cool. That's another one of the, as I say, it's not popping up. Okay. So another one we talked about was finding some strategies to help obtain resources. That's one of the things that I feel like has been difficult, at least for me in my career, is there's always a lot of competing agendas and competing projects. And, how do you make sure that resources get allocated to the right place? So we thought that would be an interesting topic to discuss, and how you can help the organization allocate its resources correctly. Another topic we touched on was how to make networking not feel so awkward. For me, that's always been really, weird. I feel like you're going out and you're meeting people, and it feels not genuine at all. And, how can you take these awkward experiences, make them something more personal, and then, when the time comes when you need to ask for help or something, it doesn't just feel like it was hey, I talked to you for 15 minutes at a networking lunch. Can you help me with this project or something? So those are some of the ideas that we decided would be great class conversation topics.